Hey, what's going up, guys? I think this is working. I don't do enough of these live videos, but I think I got it rolling here. So hopefully some of you guys can hop on. If not, you can catch the recording. Beachbody asked me to hop on here and just share, some of the benefits that I've experienced from being a coach. And they also asked me to kind of share my story, kind of how I got involved with coaching and the success I've had hitting the Million Club. But it wasn't always a smooth path. I wasn't one of those coaches that just came out of the gates like firing and killed this thing. I hope I'm doing this right. If you guys can see me, maybe like a thumbs up or something. But to talk about like the benefits, I mean, some of them are going to be, I'll talk about them later. Financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom, and ego freedom. And I'm going to touch on all those. But before that, I'm going to jump into my story, kind of how I got involved with Beachbody, how I got introduced to it, and then some of the pitfalls, some of the things that I didn't do so well, and then what happened to kind of turn it around. So I'm still not seeing if this thing's working or not. I really hope it is, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm from upstate New York, way up, kind of near Canada, up in the frozen tundra. I don't know if where you guys are from, anybody from upstate New York on here? Or where are you guys from? I'm kind of curious, actually. I went to school up there at Geneseo, and I was a college athlete there, and I had to pick a major. I had to pick the major that I wanted for school, right? They tell you got to pick a major. So I talked to my mom, and she told me you should be an accounting major because you'll be able to get out and you'll be able to get a good job, all right? That was the extent of the amount of time I put into thinking about what I was going to do the rest of my life. And, I listened to my mom, and I became an accounting major. She's an amazing woman. My parents are amazing. My mom was teaching me, compounding interest when I was like, 12 years old. Like, who does that, right? So I graduate college, I get a degree, and I get a job at the #1 accounting firm in the country, in Boston. So I go out to Boston with my college girlfriend. We get a place out there, and I start working at this big accounting firm, and I had one goal, work my ass off for 14 years and become partner at this firm. That was it. That was my tunnel vision. So that's what I started doing, and a few years in, I started to get promoted. What's it say? Okay, cool. I started getting promoted. I started getting raises. I passed the CPA exam. I got married pretty early, and all these things were going really well, but the one thing that wasn't going well was that I gained 30 pounds. I was kind of stuck behind a desk. I wasn't a gym guy. I couldn't get myself to go to the gym and do my own routine. I was so used to working out with a team and having a set routine when I was in college. That was just part of it. So I remember one night, I left work probably around like 9 o'clock at night, and I drove to CVS to get some photos that I had developed. Anybody remember like when we used to have to go and bring our camera to CVS or Walgreens and get the photos developed? So that's what I did. I went there, I picked them up. I came home, it was probably like 10 o'clock at night. I'm eating some like takeout or something, probably watching like SportsCenter in the background, maybe doing some work at the same time. And I'm going through the photos, and I look and I see a picture of myself. And I remember my face. I looked kind of like a chipmunk that had been storing like a ton of walnuts in his cheeks. And it's funny at the time now, but back then I was like, man, like what happened between being a college athlete and now? And I made the decision I was going to do something to change that. So I had seen these infomercials for P90X on TV. This is like back, 2005. I kept seeing these infomercials over and over again. So I bought it. And I started doing it, and I loved it. Like, I started to feel like an athlete again. Like, physically, I dropped the 30 pounds, but also like mentally, I started feeling a lot sharper athletically. And then I got approached by I think a text just popped up here. I got approached by one of my old college teammates, Dave Spinaccio, and another one of my old college teammates, Joe Petri, that they were coaching as well. And they heard I was doing P90X, and Dave approached me about it, and I thought it was kind of a cool idea, them helping others, and then those people turning around and helping other people creating this ripple effect of more people helping other people, creating more financial independence. I thought that was really cool, but I said, I got a real career, guys. Like, I'm going to be a partner at this accounting firm. Like, I got 14-year path before I'm going to become a partner. And they understood that, but they followed up. They weren't pushy with it, and I watched them. They got me to sign up as a coach. I became a coach just more for like the discount. I kind of tried it a little bit here and there, talked to people about it, but I was so gung-ho on my career that really for like the next 4 years, I didn't really treat it like a business. It was more of like a hobby. And as I watched during those 4 years, I kind of watched Joe and I watched Dave, and I watched some of these other coaches like do really well with it. It was something that was always in the back of my mind. I never could turn it off, even though I was so focused on my career as a CPA. So fast forward 4 years, and I go through a divorce, and I'm just burned out in my career. I'm going through the motions. I'm getting up. I'm not excited to go to work. And I just, like, that just wasn't me. Like, I didn't want that. And meanwhile, I'm seeing, all these other coaches that I'd been watching over the past 4 years create something that they were so excited about, create a business that they were passionate about, create a business that was giving them all this financial freedom to become their own boss, but also something that was having a huge impact. And I could see how passionate they were for what their business was doing for other people. And I wanted that. And I also, during those 4 years where I didn't really treat it like a business, what I did was I did pay attention to the coaches that were having success, and I watched them, and I'd go to an event here and there, and I got to see who they were. And guess what? They were human, and I'm human too. They had doubts, they had fears, they didn't know what the heck they were doing when they started. And I got to watch that process of them going from not knowing what they were doing to being really successful. And so by the time I was ready to go all in after 4 years of watching, I already had that belief. I understood that these people aren't rock stars, they're just humans. So I had 7 years left on my lease, 7 months left on my lease at that time. So for 7 months, I made the commitment that I'm going to make enough by the end of the 7 months, by the time my lease runs out, that I'm going to be able to leave accounting and do this full time. That was like my goal, and I had my back against the wall, because if I didn't, then I was going to have to find somewhere to live, because I wasn't going to renew that lease no matter what, and I didn't want to live in Boston. I didn't want to have to look for another accounting firm. So I had 7 months back against the wall. Let's go, balls to the wall. So for those 7 months, I lived on Facebook. I lived in my inbox. I lived in Facebook groups. I was constantly talking to people, connecting with people. I started my own Facebook group, a free, just a general organic fitness and nutrition support group. I invited people to join that. I'd get up early. I'd spend an hour before and after school doing that. Can you guys hear me? Am I in the right group here? Is this the Beachbody Champions page? I hope so. I think so. Good. So where was I? So that's what I was doing before work. I'd get up and I would do that, and then I'd come home. I'd be at work. I'd finish my assignments, and during my lunch breaks and some of my breaks between my regular jobs, I was in my inbox, inviting, following up. I was on Facebook, going into different Facebook groups, looking to see who was commenting, asking questions, whose questions weren't getting answered, going on Google, looking for the answer, answering those people's questions, starting conversations, starting relationships, connecting those people, inviting them to my general free Facebook group, and that general free Facebook group started to grow and grow over that time. So then I'd get home from work and I'd eat dinner, and then I was back on Facebook, living in that inbox, following up, inviting, following up. I would probably say about 5 hours a day, on top of the fact that I was working 50 hours a week at my full-time CPA, high-profile accounting job. So during those 7 months, as I'm doing all this and I'm building all these connections, I'm building these relationships, I'm getting people into the group, I'm asking the people in the group to interact and encourage the other members, and we're creating this unbelievable energy and this organic feeling in this group, and I'm feeding off of it because I love it, and it's getting me to work out more, it's getting me to post more, it's getting me more fired up. So during those 7 months, that's really when my family started to get on board. They were kind of in and out with it. When I was all in it in the business back in the day, like my mom and my sisters, my dad were into it, but then I would fall off, and then eventually they would fall off. But this time I said, I'm not going anywhere. I don't have a plan B. This is my plan A. No more plan B. My back's against the wall. And once I did that, people noticed it. They noticed. They didn't think, okay, this kid's just trying something. he's doing this, and he's going to do it with or without me. And when that mentality shift happened, that's when my family got on board. And I built one leg with my family. My mom and my dad, they're unbelievable leaders. They're both, they make a 6-figure income. We're able to retire early from their jobs. They get to travel all over the world now. They're going out to like the UK for like 3 weeks next month. So cool. Then I got my 2 sisters. Andrea Wallace, we're 15 months apart. She went all in right around that same time during that 7-month period. Now she's making a 6-figure income. And she has 3 boys that she gets to stay home with and work her business around their schedules. It's her dream job. Before that, she was working a corporate job in sales that was high pressure, that if she didn't hit a number, she'd get fired. Now, she doesn't have to worry about being fired because she's the boss. And then my youngest sister, Amy, who's about 27, she was a little bit later to the game, always loved the products, but wasn't so sure about the business. When she saw us go all in during that 7-month period in 2013, and I remember one day I came out of the office. She happened to work in the same office building as me in Boston, and she asked me what I was doing. I said, I'm checking my Beachbody check for the week. And she was like, huh, cool, like, you make money with that? Like, how much are you making? And I showed her, I was still working full-time as a CPA. I showed her my Beachbody income. It was $1,800 for that week. And she was like, meet me here tomorrow. I want to know what you're doing. I'm in. And so now she's gone on to create a 6-figure income, and she escaped that cubicle life out of that office that we both escaped from, which is kind of cool. So then also on the left side, that was my right leg. Then the left side, I built that with a lot of people I met through the customer lead program and through social media. So I was constantly reaching out to the customers that were assigned to me, seeing who I could connect with. Joe Policino was one of them, retired New York City fireman. He's had such a huge impact on Team Boom and me, and he's someone that I just love to work with. And he's someone I met through the customer lead program because I took the time to reach out to all those customer leads. And he's not the only one. I have a few other diamond coaches that I met through that customer lead program because I took the time to reach out to them more than just once. I also, because I was on Facebook, constantly going into Facebook groups and looking for people that were interacting in the group, that were asking questions, but nobody was answering their questions. I was reaching out to them. I was talking to them about the group that I had. I said, hey, you don't have to buy anything to be in here. It's just a free general health and fitness group. We'd love to have someone like you in there. I can add you if you want to check it out. And they'd go in there and they'd fall in love with it. And a lot of times they'd be the people that I'd ask to kind of take on a co-leader role in the group. Nothing crazy, just feel free to post positive stuff in the group and encourage the other members. And that was a great thing for 3 reasons. 1, it got them to be more active in the group. 2, it benefited the other people in the group because there was one more person encouraging them. And 3, it helped me kind of see who I wanted to talk to about possibly becoming a coach. So during those 7 months, built one leg with the family, built the other leg, found a couple really good leaders that I found through social media and customer lead program that are now some of my closest friends that I talk to all the time. And we have such a blast at these local events. My family, our team is called Team Boom, but it's more of like a family because we have my 2 sisters and my parents. And so when we go to events and do retreats, we do it all together as a family. And I think I'm very blessed in that way, and I think that has a huge impact on the success we've had as a team. So 7 months goes by, the lease runs out, and at the beginning of that 7 months, like I said, I was making a couple $100 a week. I was probably making like $300-400 a week as a coach, which wasn't a lot for someone who had been a coach for 4 years, but like I said, I didn't really take it serious. From that point to the next 7 months, when I was trying to get out of that lease, I was making between $1,500 and $2,000 a week, and that's when I left my job. And that was 4 years ago, on August 1st. So I left this high-profile CPA job on August 1st, 4 years ago, to be able to become my own boss. And I think, a lot of people thought I was crazy for doing that, but it's been 4 years now, and my business just continues to grow, and I get to help other people do that too. Now I get to help other people create that kind of financial freedom, to not have to be stuck in a job, to be able to do something that they love, that they feel is so meaningful. So that is kind of like the story of how I went from struggling for 4 years and then finally laying the groundwork, and then going all in, balls to the wall to really take this thing to the next level. They also wanted me to share a couple benefits once now that I've been able to do this full time and hit the million club and all that. So, you guys want me to share a few things? Is that cool with you guys? They didn't tell me how long to go, so I'm going to share a few other things. So, benefits, a couple things. At first, it was financial freedom. You know, the first goal was financial freedom. I wanted to be free from a paycheck. I didn't want to have to trade time for money. A job is great. You know, I actually enjoyed my job, but the problem with it is you can only get paid for your time. With this, you can get to a point where you're not just getting paid for your time, you're getting paid from the efforts of an entire team. So you're getting paid when you're not working. There's no ceiling of, I can only earn based on how much time I have to put into it. You get paid based on how big and how strong and how successful your team is, and that allows you to get paid, you know, when you're not putting in the time, when you're spending time with your family, or you're volunteering, or you're traveling. So that's the financial freedom was kind of the first thing that kicked in. The second thing would be the time freedom. You know, now all of a sudden, like, my income isn't based on how much time I put in, like, and I don't have to be a certain place to work this business. I can be anywhere. So that to me was huge. Like, I didn't have to have a certain amount of time that I had to be stuck in an office. And you know what the thing is? And this is something for you guys that like are trying to post and connect with people. You got to meet them like where they're at. Like, you got to meet them in the I think one of the coaches said on a call recently, pain points. I call it hashtag meet them in the shit. You got to meet people in the shit. I think it's great to talk to people about how excited you are and where you're headed and all that great stuff, but they're not there yet. You want to be able to connect and relate to people, you got to meet them where they're at. And a lot of times they're stuck in the shit, in the stuff that you used to be in, or maybe you're still in, but you're working your way through it. So you got to, when you're posting, post about those things, the pain points. So one of the things for me was a pain point that I post about is I used to have to look at these vacation days like they were like sacred to me. I had to guard them with my life because I only had a certain amount of vacation days, right? And I'm someone that loves to travel. I'm someone that has a hard time saying no when one of my buddies or one of my cousins or my family says, we're going on this trip. I can't stand missing those kind of trips because I love to travel. I love to be with my friends. I love to be with my family. When we would have these Beachbody retreats, you know, and they would go, to Atlantis and on these cruises and stuff, that was my busy time of year. That was my busy season in accounting as a CPA. I was not allowed to go on those vacations. I had to sit in a cubicle and look at pictures of them in the Caribbean, on a cruise, or in Atlantis, partying. I think my parents and my two sisters, they took a picture with Shaun T, the four of them with Shaun T, and they said, like, our new son, Shaun. And I was like, I thought it was funny. Obviously, that's kind of funny. But that to me was like, that wasn't freedom. That wasn't freedom. I was sick of having to guard these vacation days. And I see people all the time still do, and maybe you're one of them, and maybe you know people that do this. They have a set amount of vacation days, and when an opportunity comes up, they guard it. They guard it. And maybe they might have time to do it. They might have the vacation days, but the other thing that pops in their head is they don't have the money. So it's the time and the money. That's two things that are going to hold people back from being able to spend more time with the people they love, to be able to volunteer on certain issues that they really feel passionate about, to be able to travel and experience new things. Beachbody allows you to cut that out. It gives you the financial freedom. It gives you the time freedom. It gives you the rules, the freedom from rules, like the rule of you have to work here for this amount of time at this desk until I tell you can go, and you got to do this while you're here. And oh, by the way, you only get X amount of vacation days. So the freedom from those things was huge for me. One other freedom that, I think once you get to that point where you're like, all right, the financial freedom thing, that was my big why. What's next? And that for me was freedom from ego. Ego freedom. Ego to me is that's just the part of your little mind that's always afraid, that fears what other people think of you, that creates anxiety, that creates stress. Freedom from ego. Freedom from Sunday night blues. That was huge for me. was one other thing I was going to share. Oh, they wanted me to share. Beachbody asked me to share kind of like some of the things as far as the financial freedom, time freedom. So having the income and having the time to do it, and not having the rules about how many vacation days I can take. So they wanted me to share a couple places I've been able to go over the last few years. Like I've been able to bring my business and work my business from Alaska, all up and down California, Oregon, Washington. Just this past year was in New Zealand. Also just this past year was in Costa Rica. Also was in the Dominican with some of you guys. Last year did a big Euro trip. And again, like I had my phone, I had the internet, I could work my business while I was there. So this is something that allows you to, if you're someone that loves to travel as much as me, that loves to experience new cultures, that loves to meet new people and see how they do things a little differently, this is the thing for you. And again, another little trip I got to go on was I went to Greece this past in June, I think. So I don't know how many vacation days most people get, but I think because I'm my own boss, I've given myself probably about 12 weeks of vacation so far this year. And the past like 3 weeks, I got to spend up in upstate New York with my family. 3 weeks I got to spend with my family. And when the hurricane hit down here where I live in South Florida, Delray Beach, I didn't have to worry too much about like missing work or anything like that. I just said, I'll just stay up in upstate New York for a little bit longer. And guess what? Because of that, I got to see my nephew's first day of kindergarten. Because I didn't have to worry about a boss or a job or a location that I had to be at, which is cool. So that's kind of my story, and then some of the benefits that I've got to experience. One last kind of benefit would be, I get to do things that to me are meaningful, like helping people with their taxes, doing the accounting things. I enjoy that. I'm a numbers guy. I like that stuff, but it doesn't have the kind of impact and have the kind of meaning as that contributing to other people's lives, whether it's fitness, nutrition. I love helping people with their mindset. I love working with entrepreneurs and creating that entrepreneurial mindset. I love that stuff. That to me doesn't even feel like work. None of that stuff. That to me is huge. And then the other thing I talked about was ego freedom. So I'm a numbers guy. Like I always spend a lot of time like in my head, still do at times. This is something that when you really dig your teeth into this business and you start reading some of the books that they tell you to read, you're going to start to break free from the ego. You're going to start to break free from stress and anxiety. You're going to start to break free from worrying about what other people think of you. Imagine what it would feel like if you didn't care so much about what other people thought of your posts. You didn't care so much about what other people thought of what business you were building. And you know what? If they don't like what you're doing, they can do you a favor and unfriend you. They can do you a favor and unfriend you. Because guess what? Your post, if they don't like it, it wasn't meant for them, so they can unfriend you. They're not your tribe. They're not your tribe. So that's one thing I love to work on with coaches is that ego freedom. The last thing I'll leave you with is something I call escalator mindset. Escalator, those like metal stairs that go up and down. This is something I talk about a ton. The hashtag escalator mindset. So the way this business works, if you want to have all those benefits, you gotta build a business that has leaders. If someone asks me, Pat, what's the secret to this business? I'd say develop leaders. 2 or 3, 5 good leaders would be unbelievable, but 2 or 3 would be really good. There's a catch to that though. The 2 or 3 leaders that you really want on your team, the 2 or 3 people that are going to run with you, that love the products, that love being a coach, that love the benefits that this offers, that want to do something that's meaningful, that want to do something that's going to contribute to others, those 2 or 3 people that you want, they're going to be very smart people and probably sometimes skeptical. So they're going to have to sit back and watch you sometimes for 6 months, most of the time, sometimes for a year, before they trust you, before they can say to themselves, okay, this person's real, this person's serious, this is a real opportunity. But what do most coaches do? They get so excited. Maybe they've been a coach for a few years, but they've never really stayed consistent for a full year. Or maybe they're a new coach. Whatever it is, you come back after an event or a call and you're excited and you start inviting and following up and connecting with new people and you're doing your personal development, you're doing your workouts. But 3 months in, you get a little frustrated because you're not moving as fast as you want. You're not getting yeses as fast as you want. And that's because, like we said, people need to watch you for a while. You need to gain credibility. They don't trust you yet. That's just kind of how it works. And unfortunately, coaches don't understand that, and they go 3 months, and life gets in the way, and they stop. And you know what? That's what I did for the first 4 years of the business, and that's why I didn't have a lot of success my first 4 years. This business is just like trying to run up an escalator that's going down. Are there any troublemakers on this call that have tried to run up an escalator that was going down? Are there any other troublemakers like me that have done that? Okay. So what I mean by that is, in the beginning, you're excited, you're ready, you're like, let's do this. That event was amazing. I'm a new coach. This is amazing. Let's go, let's go, let's go. You're posting, you're being proof the products work, you're sharing, you're reading your personal development, you're finding new people to connect with, you're inviting, following up, inviting, following up, inviting, following up. You're planting the seeds. Like when someone tells you no, no is a good thing because you've planted the seed and now they're going to watch you closer. They're going to watch to see how long you stay on this escalator. And so what coaches do is they plant these seeds and these people are watching them. And guess what? Those people, they're not going to like anything you post. They're probably not going to comment on anything you post, but they are watching. They're watching to see how long you stay consistent with this thing. Is this a fad for you or is this your new lifestyle? So most coaches, 3 months in, they're going like crazy. They're inviting, they're following up. Maybe the few of their close friends that love them or that do anything for them help them hit Success Club the first couple months. Maybe they hit Success Club the first 3 and they win the summit ticket. But all of a sudden it gets a little bit harder and they get a little discouraged and they go, man, this thing isn't moving as fast as I want because you're on an escalator that's going down because people need to watch you for a while, 6 months to a year before they're ready. And when that coach gets discouraged, what happens when they stop? What happens to a coach on an escalator? What happens to you when you're on an escalator that's going down and you stop running? Brings you all the way back to the bottom. Because all those people you saw, or that saw you, they see you stop and they go, huh, good thing I didn't join them. They're not even doing it anymore. And you know what's worse? What I did for the first 4 years? I'd come back, I'd be excited, I'd be running up the escalator, I'd get a couple coaches that wanted to do this with me, and then what? They'd be on the escalator with me, and life would get in the way for me, whatever excuse I could come up with, and I would stop, and I wouldn't run on the escalator, and I'd start going back down the escalator, and my coaches saw me going back down the escalator, and then they stopped, and all of a sudden, all those coaches I had stopped. I finally got sick and tired. I got to the point where I had seen all these other coaches for the 4 years where I was going up and down the escalator. I saw other coaches get on, stay on with their vital behaviors, prove to people that they were serious about this, and a year later, they had these businesses that were booming. 2 years later, booming. Meanwhile, I'm 4 years in, going up and down the escalator, more towards the bottom of the escalator. And it kind of like, I was excited for them, but it kind of pissed me off because I had hung out with these people, and this is something you guys are going to understand. Surround yourself with people that already have what you want. Because I guarantee you, they're more human than you think. They are more human than you think. They have more doubts than you think. They have the same doubts, the same fears. They were a brand new coach. Their rank at one point was coach. Like this stuff, like me getting on a call like this, when I first signed up as a coach, no way I was getting on this call. Like I got asked to speak on a team call or just go on to introduce myself on a team call. And I was like, I made up some excuse not to get on because I was afraid I would like forget my name or something. Like Carl Deichler, he said it at the summit. He gets nervous. He came out on stage. He had doubts. He was nervous. He was going to drop his index cards, all over the stage, and they weren't numbered. I thought that was kind of funny. Melanie Mitro, she got up there and talked about how much anxiety she's lived with and some of the things she's done to overcome that. So, anyway, back to this escalator thing. You're on this escalator, you're running full speed, people are watching, you're planting all these seeds, you're getting these no's, which is a good thing. You take a break, they see you take a break, you lost all those seeds you planted. Now you got to get back on the escalator, and that's what I did 4 years ago. I said, I'm sick and tired of going up and down this escalator. I'm getting back on this thing, and I'm not getting the frick off this thing. And I know it's hashtag inevitable, that if I stay on this long enough and I make this my lifestyle, not just a business, it's inevitable. I'm going to find 2 or 3 people that want to do this with me, that want to make this a real thing, that want to be leaders, that want these products, that want to help other people with these products, that want to build a business, that want to help other people build a business. I know that if I show up on this escalator every day on my social media, it's inevitable I'm going to find those 2 or 3 leaders, those 5 leaders that I want. And so I got back on that escalator, and that's what I did. And my mentality shifted from, I hope this thing kind of works out, to it's a done deal. Like, I'm never going to stop. This is my lifestyle. Like, I'm showing up, I'm reading books, I'm eating right, I'm working out, and I'm doing those things every day for the rest of my life, because that's just what makes me feel the best version of myself. The same with surrounding myself with good people. So I'm not going anywhere. And my mentality when I'm talking to people is, hey, if you're ready, cool. If you're ready in 6 weeks, I'll be here. If you're ready in 6 months, I'll be here. If you're ready in 6 years, I'll be here. If you're ready in 60 years, God willing, I'll be here. I got your back. So I'm not trying to slam this thing down people's throats. I'm not desperate for people because I'm not going for the quick fix. I'm in it for the long term because this is the lifestyle I love, because it makes me feel like my best version of myself. So other people see that and they can tell this kid's not just pushy to sell something and then see you later. They can tell that if they join one of my groups, they don't just get the group, they don't just get the products, they get me. And I'm not going anywhere. That's the mentality that you got to have. Not that I hope this works, to I'm in. I'm not going anywhere. I'm a Beachbody lifer. I bleed blue. Who's coming with me? You know how you get from over here to like, I hope it works? And I've been over here, you know, everyone starts over here. You know how you shift it though to get to that mentality where you attract better people? Personal development is number 1. Reading books, like the way we think is what dictates our actions, and our actions are going to dictate our results. It all starts with the way we think. So personal development in our brain sometimes is a funny thing that is always thinking negative to keep us in our safe little comfort zone. So reading books that get you to understand that, get you conscious of that, so that you're not run by your ego, by your fear, by your doubt, and you're starting to understand that that's not who you truly are, and you come from a stronger place from here instead of here. That it starts to shift from here over to here. Another thing, go hang out with people that are already over here. People that are already over here hanging out, so much more fun. And guess what? Their attitude is contagious. When I started hanging out with people that were over here and talking to them and asking them questions about what their biggest failures were and all that kind of stuff, I realized they're human. They're just human that worked hard and stayed on the escalator for a full, consistent year. They weren't doing anything different than I was. They were just doing it more consistently and with a little bit more passion and enthusiasm because they had that belief. So I got back on the escalator and I did that. And for 7 months, I got to the point where I was making more with Beachbody than I was at my full-time accounting job, and that's when I left. And now I get to do this full-time. Everybody has 2 start dates in this business. The day they sign up and the day that they get on the escalator for the very last time. How many of you guys feel like you've been on the escalator up and down, get excited about an event, get on the escalator, inviting, you're doing the vitals, then you fall off and you kind of lose all your momentum, then you come back after an event or, whatever, maybe your boss yells at you and you're like, screw this guy, like I need to work my business. You come back up and down this escalator for maybe, like me, for 4 years. How many of you guys have felt like that? A lot of you guys. So my offer to you is to make this day your second start date. Your first date is the day you sign up. Your second date is the day you get on the escalator and you never look back. You never turn around. You stay on it every day, no matter what. And if you do that with that mentality, it's inevitable that you're going to eventually find a couple good leaders that really want to do this with you. And when you find those leaders, this business explodes and it gets so much more fun. And you start to be on an escalator that's going up. And your business starts to grow even faster than you could even run. And that is what creates financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom, more time to do the things you want to do. Volunteer, like, and like now I get to go and volunteer my time to teach kids lacrosse, and I just got certified to teach kids mindfulness. Like, again, like ego freedom. We get to do that kind of stuff. So that's my challenge to you guys. Comment below and let us know, like, when you signed up as a coach and what day you're deciding, I'm getting on this escalator and I'm not getting off. I'm not going back down like I always have. This is my second start date and I'm not looking back. And I'll see you guys at the top of the escalator. Cool. Later, guys.